Bruno está reclamando aqui, mas ele volta no terceiro painel, viu? Já fica aqui o convite. Jovem Pan, Mitos e Fatos, IFL, Liberdade e Democracia. Aliás, o Bruno estava falando sobre a história da múmia, aí eu puxei aqui uma informação que eu tinha visto uma vez, que a carga tributária aqui no Brasil tem tanta distorção que bolachas ou biscoitos amanteigados têm uma carga tributária. E bolacha sabor manteiga tem outra. E eu não sei qual que é a diferença em relação a isso, né? Quem sabe os homens de Brasília possam entender e mudar esse tipo de coisa. Bom, agora eu convido ao palco o presidente do Conselho do IFL São Paulo, Joseph Teperman. Por favor. Valeu.
Obrigado. Passador de slide.
Tá ali, ó.
Boa tarde. Vou esperar o slide chegar e antes disso eu falo que o pessoal lá da Singularity University fala que não é para ter medo de AI, Artificial Intelligence. A gente tem que ter medo de AV, áudio e vídeo, que muitas vezes falha. Hoje vai funcionar com certeza. Então, meu nome é Joseph Teperman, eu sou sócio da Init, uma empresa de busca de executivos, e venho me dedicando de corpo, tempo e alma nos últimos 7 anos e meio para o IFL. Hoje eu continuo servindo o IFL no Conselho, presidindo o Conselho. Sou carreirista e anticarreirista. E em alguns minutos eu vou contar que a nossa história começa há 14 bilhões de anos atrás, com uma grande explosão chamada Big Bang. E eu tenho 5 minutos para falar desses últimos 14 bilhões de anos atrás, como é que a gente chegou até aqui. Então, indo de 14 bilhões de anos atrás para 4,5 bi de anos atrás, a Terra parou na órbita onde a gente está agora, os continentes estavam todos juntos, e algo entre 250 e 400 milhões de anos atrás, os continentes começaram a se separar e deram esse formato como está hoje. Temos o Brasil aí rodando nessa imagem. Ano de 1500, Pedro Álvares Cabral chegou, descobriu o Brasil. E em 1984, o William Lingle, que está aqui hoje na audiência, no público, resolveu, junto com um grupo de outras pessoas, começar um instituto chamado Instituto de Estudos Empresariais, lá em Porto Alegre. Esse é o logo do IEE. Em torno de 2006, 2007, o Davi Pfeffer foi participar de um dos encontros do IEE. E ele gostou muito do que viu por lá. E falou, olha, por que isso não existe em São Paulo? Conversou com o Paulo, que falou um pouco antes de mim, e os dois justos falaram, vamos colocar a pedra fundamental do IEE em São Paulo. Então, durante os primeiros 3 anos, chamava IEE São Paulo, e a partir de 2011, mudou de nome para IFL, Instituto de Formação de Líderes. Tivemos, então, o nosso Big Bang do Instituto de Formação de Líderes. E se o Ulisses Guimarães, em 1988, promulgou uma Constituição com 72 direitos e 4 deveres, faltou um pouco pensar na matemática, a conta não fecha, tantos direitos e tão poucos deveres. Na hora que a Constituição do IFL foi feita, a missão do IFL ficou muito clara, que é formar lideranças e propagar ideias. Quais ideias? Vocês já ouviram algumas vezes, mas eu vou repetir porque elas são muito importantes. Livre iniciativa, liberdades individuais, direito à propriedade privada, e império da lei, que alguns chamam de Estado de Direito. Por que essas ideias? Parece que a gente é tão alinhado, né, que parece que o que a Renata acabou de falar, a gente nem se conhece ainda, Renata, depois descendo do palco. Vou te conhecer, porque o que você falou está aqui. Essas ideias são as que trazem mais prosperidade. A gente vai para qualquer ranking de liberdade, os países que estão no topo do ranking são os países mais livres. E são aqueles países que a gente adoraria morar e a gente fala bem deles sem parar. São os países que a gente elogia. Dinamarca, Suécia, Finlândia, Hong Kong, Austrália, Nova Zelândia e assim por diante. Então aí nasce o IFL, uma primeira diretoria com 3 pessoas. O IFL nasce pequeno, no ano de 2008. Juliana, Sankovski, Diego, a primeira diretoria. Essa é uma foto de mais ou menos 4 anos depois, a gente se encontra toda segunda noite num jantar-debate. Eram mais ou menos 12 a 15 pessoas passando pelo ciclo de formação, foi quando eu entrei no Instituto. Passa 2 anos, a gente está bonito aqui em cima do palco e tudo, mas é muita ralação, dia de semana, final de semana, à noite, madrugada, Essa é uma diretoria de 2014 que falou, vamos fazer pela primeira vez o Fórum da Liberdade. O Instituto já está sólido o suficiente para que a gente possa transbordar as nossas ideias para a sociedade. Fomos para um teatro com 700 pessoas, falamos, será que vai ter 700 pessoas em São Paulo que vão estar dispostas a sair do trabalho, pegar trânsito, chuva, Uber, carro, estacionamento, para ouvir um debate de ideias? Na verdade, tinha. 700 pessoas estavam lá naquele dia. Salim Matar, que também sempre foi um grande apoiador de institutos liberais e do IFL, estava naquela primeira edição. O prêmio foi dado para o Gentili, que naquele momento estava na lista negra do governo, porque ele é um comediante, fala as coisas que ele pensa, e ele recebeu o prêmio. Passa alguns anos, essa foto do Fórum de 2 anos atrás, o Fórum já tomou um corpo muito grande. E aí você vai falar, para quem não conhece bem o IFL, imagino que mais ou menos metade da audiência esteja aqui, mas não entenda perfeitamente o que é o IFL. É só o Fórum? Não. Tem um ciclo de formação e temos projetos. Então, toda segunda noite, essa já é uma foto de 1 ou 2 anos atrás. São 70 pessoas reunindo em jantar debate para debater com filósofos, políticos, economistas, para escrever artigo, fazer júri simulado, eventos internos de formação e ter esse debate de ideias, um ciclo de formação de 1 ano e meio a 2 anos. Isso impacta a sociedade? Sem dúvida impacta. Vou passar por algum dos projetos. Dia da Liberdade dos Impostos. Vocês já devem ter ouvido falar do Dia da Liberdade de Impostos. Esse ano se transformou na Semana da Liberdade de Impostos. Preço da gasolina, um pouco mais da metade, não é gasolina. Está indo para Brasília. Aqui tem a fila do posto. Olha quanto custa a gasolina. R$ 1,96 na realidade. Aula livre, a gente faz para alunos, seja carentes financeiramente, por exemplo, na Unibis, seja alunos carentes de informação, por exemplo, no Colégio Santa Cruz, que não tem as informações que a gente está tendo acesso hoje aqui. Mostra Cinema e Liberdade, pela primeira vez foi feito no ano passado. A gente escreve artigos, então tem no Infomoney e no blog do Estado da Arte, os associados escrevem artigos. Aqui a gente tem a capa dos livros, o último livro está sendo vendido aqui fora. Todo o Fórum da Liberdade, os associados escrevem artigos, que é compilado no livro. Essa é a foto no final do último Fórum da Liberdade, há 1 ano atrás. O preenchimento e a alegria que exercer nossa cidadania para propagar as ideias traz é uma coisa que só a foto pode colocar. Eu não consigo, através de palavras, contar para vocês o tamanho da felicidade que a gente vai sentir no final do dia de hoje ao estar tirando uma foto como essa. Agora, como é que o IFL existe? O diretoria e o conselho trabalham de forma voluntária. Os patrocinadores e apoiadores ajudam a fazer isso daqui acontecer. Algumas pessoas na plateia vão falar, beleza, como é que eu faço para patrocinar ou apoiar? O e-mail está aí, pode bater uma foto, é ifl-sp@ifl-sp.org, dá para entrar em contato. Se for empresa, acho importante atrelar sua marca, porque a gente é pró-mercado, e se não tiver mercado, não tem empresa, não tem trabalho, não tem nada. Se for uma pessoa física, fala, não tem uma empresa e eu, de alguma forma, quero estar atrelado. Tem um negócio que chama Programa Amigo IFL, se você mandar um e-mail, vão te explicar. E a mensagem que eu quero passar é que a sociedade tem que ser mais ativa. Por quê? O governo tem a tendência de ser intervencionista e monopolista. Se não tiver livre mercado e liberdades individuais, não vai ter empresa, como eu falei. Se não tiver empresa, não tem trabalho e prosperidade. Aí você vai falar, ok, eu quero me candidatar para passar pelo ciclo de formação. ifl-sp@ifl-sp.org. Mas eu não estou em São Paulo. O Instituto existe em outros lugares. Existe também em Floripa, em BH, em Brasília e no Rio de Janeiro. Em Porto Alegre e Vitória são institutos parceiros, tem o mesmo ciclo de formação, propagando as mesmas ideias com outro nome. IE, Instituto de Estudos Empresariais, e o ILA, Instituto Líderes do Amanhã. E se alguém que está aqui vai falar, ok, mas eu não moro em nenhuma dessas cidades, como é que eu faço para começar um novo instituto? Manda um e-mail, se for no estado de São Paulo, ifl-sp@ifl-sp.org, e se for em outras cidades, entra no site do IFL Brasil, iflbrasil.com.br. Obrigado. E agora eu chamo Christopher Lingle. Christopher. Thank Christopher.
That guy. I'm on.
Do you have a presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it? Wow, this is amazing. I go to liberty-oriented events around the world, and I'm an old guy. I've done it for a long time. But I've never been so impressed by the quality of the speakers that have preceded me and the quality of the people that will succeed me. It's just really impressive. If Sao Paulo is the New York City of Brazil, if we had this event in New York City, there may be 200 people in the audience. It's happening in Brazil. I knew it before I came. I've been here before. But the extent to which what's going on is very impressive. And so I applaud all of you in the audience for your interest in trying to promote human liberty and personal dignity of all Brazilians. And I wish you Godspeed and good luck with it. Thank you. Now, the question will be whether or not I can master this simple little device here. It's only got a few buttons. But so how many of you are better off than your parents and your grandparents? Well, my father was quite prosperous and quite successful. But no matter how I measure it, human progress has made all of us better. You don't have to be in a better job, so to speak, or have a higher social status. But human progress is really the outcome of entrepreneurial actions. It's not from the state. The most memorable things the state has given us, hyperinflation in Brazil, very memorable, painful. Wars, the gringos are fighting wars all over the world. But what the entrepreneurs give us are often not memorable. We take them for granted. But they are what constitutes almost everything that makes our life better in terms of satisfying our material needs. Now, it is the states, the governments do have the potential to facilitate this, but they also have the potential and the inclination to interfere with it, as we know they do. Am I having? What's that one? Okay. I wasn't quite ready, but no, it's that one. Ah. Thank you. See, she figured that old guy like me would have to be, but anyway, thank you. So, let me give an applause to the McKinsey Center for Economic Freedom that invited me to be here for the last month and to be able to meet many more young Brazilians. And that's the other feature in this audience. The low average age really inspires me. I think my impression was before even coming here that the Students for Liberty, the membership in Brazil, seems to be about as many as there are in the entire United States. So I applaud that. I know that there was a youthful commitment to human liberty through the Students for Liberty. But to see and to hear the entrepreneurs here, the public intellectuals expressing themselves so well, makes me much more upbeat and positive than I've been in a long time. So somehow the rest of the freedom-loving world needs to pay more attention to what's going on here. I feel there's a great deal more uncertainty in the United States. I feel much more confident here for the immediate future. So, well, anyway, I'm going to give somewhat of a academic and I hope not too boring presentation, but I want to look at the notion of the entrepreneur. Now, entrepreneur is a word that most entrepreneurs couldn't spell, couldn't really define. It's something that they do out of instinct. We have lots of elaborate expressions, and that makes jobs for people like me to try to teach people how to spell these words. But so the entrepreneur is really defined on the basis of what they do. And what they do is use foresight to create something that nobody else anticipated including the ultimate consumer. One of the wonderful things about the entrepreneur is that they create things for us that we didn't know we needed, that we would value. Henry Ford said, if I asked my consumers what do they want, they would have said, we want a faster horse, not a Model T. So entrepreneurs create things that people didn't know that they could use, that they didn't know that they wanted. So they do it in such a way that no one else did, that creates value in the mind of the consumer. This is wealth creation at its best. Now, entrepreneurs are not always managers. In fact, they're very often bad at that. They often have quirky personalities, that they're not really good at managing people. Are they capitalists? Well, George Soros, there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, very rich entrepreneurs, who aren't capitalists in the sense that they don't promote private property and human liberty. But they must depend upon the capitalist system in order to achieve their goals. Do they have a social function? Entrepreneurs have one of the most important social functions in my mind, at least from my perspective of economics. They are the source of social and economic dynamism. They keep things moving. They stir things up. And that is the basis of progress and prosperity. Before we had market-based economies, if you go back through the experience and history of mankind, we didn't even have an idea of progress. I mean, there was very little progress. Things remained pretty miserable for thousands of years. And it was only until we got into a market-based system with entrepreneurs that we really began to see prosperity. Now, there's a question about the idea of profits, whether or not entrepreneurs should earn such high profits, because many do. If you invent an app for the hand phone, you can become fabulously rich literally overnight, because the world is your market. Now, is it moral and just that you receive that? Well, as long as those profits are earned through the voluntary decisions of those people who have rewarded the entrepreneur for what they offer, and as long as this is a process of stimulating innovation, and this is what is a social function of profits. It sends a signal to people. You can be rewarded for innovating, and you can be compensated for the risk of doing so, because entrepreneurship can be very risky. Now, one of the big complaints about the market and entrepreneurs is this problem, or this issue of income and wealth inequality. And I'll speak about that in a moment, but there are basically two ways that we can solve most of our problems. The first is to expand political power. And we should know that there are great dangers in that. Political power is something that's arbitrary. It tends to be permanent. It can be used against us. It's hard to retrieve. So the other approach is expanding human liberty and depending on entrepreneurship. Because scarcity is this inescapable condition of life, which is most clearly defined in terms of mortality. That you have to decide on how to utilize your time in the best way, because there are conflicts over the use of your time. And just as there is a conflict over the use of your time, there's conflict over the use of resources to make these glasses or whatever. So we can either use politics to decide on how to resolve the conflicts from scarcity, or we depend on the market. Now, if we depend on political power, this means life outcomes become politicized. Now, this sounds good to some people, but when your life outcome is the outcome of politics, is determined by politics, you could wind up in a place like apartheid South Africa, where if your skin color was the wrong color, you would be mistreated. You would be treated differently than others. So it's better if your life outcome is more determined by merit, that is, what you create for your fellow men or women in society. So this depends much more on peaceful exchange and cooperation, because that's the essence of market exchange. The essence of markets is not competition. The outcome of all market exchange is cooperation. In other words, you have to be in coordination with others. So more government control when we use political power, or increase social cooperation, because this is what markets are. Markets are human beings trying to make their lives better. Markets are human beings searching for happiness, searching for something that takes them out of a worse place into a better place. And markets are better at delivering that than political processes. Very often we see that we get disappointments, and this is increasingly a problem in many of the democratic countries, where democracy is dividing people rather than uniting people. At one point, you become so divided that you think the only way to solve the problem is to have a strong leader, an autocrat, a dictator, or a caudillo. And so this is really one of the problems that we need to guard against, because democracy has, unfortunately, the seed of its own destruction. And so we need to, if we want to protect democracy, we need to depend upon it less, that is, use it less. So when we use markets and entrepreneurship, it's all about trying to find ways to make our lives better. Now, it's interesting. Many people are pessimistic. They think that we're in a really bad place, that we have environmental degradation, that we have income inequalities, and that life is not really holding much promise for the future for our children. This is nonsense. By any measure, we are much better off today than the richest people were 100 years ago. This pessimism is completely misplaced, and it's motivated by a desire for some groups to either acquire more political power or to create arrangements where political power is used to intervene to accomplish things that they want to do against the interests of most of the others. Now, entrepreneurs make me optimistic. Entrepreneurs are the ones that solve some of the most pressing problems that we have, because they're constantly looking for ways to make your life better in order to make their life better. And if there's a problem out there that can be solved, that can generate some sort of quid pro quo, some sort of exchange process, they will look for it. Now, this is what we see, and this is a relatively short period of time. We could extend this to the life of Christ, to the beginning and the birth of Christ. Mankind's condition remained pretty flat, no progress, no sense of progress, until we see here the Industrial Revolution, the expansion of markets, and the importance of entrepreneurs. Now, how do we get there? Well, according to Deirdre McCluskey, a woman economist in the United States, she calls this the Great Enrichment. And this was an outcome of a change in attitudes. It had nothing to do with capital accumulation or technological advances. China had technological advances 1,000 years before, but they didn't get anywhere with it. So technological advance, capital accumulation is not enough. What had to happen is that people had to understand entrepreneurs can become rich without making me poorer. Now, Deirdre wrote a trilogy of nearly 1,000 pages. And her entire ideas can be summarized by the following: that the social respectability of entrepreneurs comes from the acceptance that entrepreneurs will improve our lives. Okay? This is a big idea, but it took a long time for people, because before that, people were rich because they had political power. They were the kings, the emperors, the dictators. So you hated people that were rich. But now people become rich because they make you better off. That's a different way of thinking. So instead of hating the rich the way Marx did, Marx was trapped in a historical artifact that power led to riches under the old regime, but under the new regime of markets, you became rich because you served people. Now, one man changed the world with one sentence because he changed China. Deng Xiaoping made a statement that is etched into the brains of the Chinese people in the post-Maoist period. He said, to become rich is glorious. So he communicated in one sentence what Deidre communicated in a trilogy of very complicated ideas and historical examples. He changed China. He told the Chinese people, don't hate the rich, don't envy the rich, don't punish the rich. Become rich because we'll all be better for it. This changed China and it changed the world. This is enormous. This is a big idea. Now, this is the kind of idea that needs to be drummed into Brazil so that there's less restrictions on entrepreneurs, on markets, on human liberty. So, now globalization is a big part of this story because globalization allowed some entrepreneurs to become very rich. But it also spread what I call the contract culture. It introduced to people, in many cases for the first time, this idea of negotiating. So if you can negotiate, if you learn that market exchange is about negotiation and that makes your life better off, then you begin to think, well, maybe we should negotiate with our governments. So this contract culture helped weaken authoritarian governments in East Asia in particular, where we see the development of markets in South Korea, Taiwan, which had dictatorships. And these were weakened by the sense of the people who said, well, we need to have compromise and negotiation with our leadership. So contracts support this compromise idea, and it underpins certain aspects of political progress as well. So there's more opportunities for human interaction when we get there. So this is where we are. Now, the irony is that very often politicians are portrayed, or political actors, as though they ignore their own interests. They're saints, that they're the ones that look after our moral well-being. And entrepreneurs are seen as greedy and self-centered and not able to serve society. But it's completely wrong. What happens is politicians, they serve their own self-interest. They give themselves good salaries, good pensions, nice offices, and so on. And they serve the interests of special interest groups. So lobbyists influence them. Now, entrepreneurs actually serve society despite their own self-absorption. Because in a system where you have to have a competitive, have to have competition, the only way they'll be successful is to offer you something better than their rivals. Politicians tend to create barriers and intervene by redistributing wealth. Entrepreneurs are all about expanding human potential, trying to create more opportunities, and that leads to more jobs. Politicians impose restrictions on competition, whereas entrepreneurs thrive on competition. They're seeking the opportunity to cooperate with you in order to allow you to achieve your life purposes. Politicians spend your money on themselves and other people. It's always going to be poorly spent. Whereas entrepreneurs spend their money on themselves or their business, so they're much more likely to control it and be more efficient in using it. State actors have the legal basis to use violence and force against us, whereas violence and force is not an element of the market. If you use violence or force to try to get people to buy from you, they'll stay away from you. You need to act peacefully and respectfully to people. So, there's weak accountability against political power, whereas the individual in the market is accountable for their mistakes, and most of their mistakes are only their own. They will react very quickly to correct them. Now, entrepreneurs are all about pursuing profits. They create this economic dynamism that very often what we see is the destruction part, but not the creative part. Schumpeter talked about creative destruction, where new inventions, new technology, new innovations will displace or weaken the position of existing producers, but replace it with something better. So what in general we've found throughout history is that there's a net gain, at least up till now. So new technology, there's some lost jobs. Those are very obvious, but we often don't see the gains in jobs. So when we see the closing of the what we call big box retailers in the United States, the department stores, but what people don't realize is how many people are hired by Amazon and by the shipping companies that Amazon relies upon. So many more jobs have been created than were destroyed. Entrepreneurs lead to more efficient use of resources, and they're conservationists in that regard because scarce resources need to be husbanded. I'm running low on time here, so net gains in wealth only emerge from entrepreneurs. Governments do not create jobs in a net sense, in a meaningful sense. If they give you a job, they take it away from someone else because that job for the government worker, they don't work, employee, comes at the expense of a tax so that the person in the private sector has less to spend. They don't create wealth, but they can interfere with its creation. They only redistribute it. So let me look at a few other things here. I want to make a one point that, I had more to say than I thought. So now, one of the, I go to India a lot, and so we're involved in promoting livelihood issues. So we're concerned about the people who are working in the informal sector, because in India, like in Brazil, I'm sure a large number of people are employed and a lot of income is earned. Now, these people are heroes. The people who are working on the streets, illegally, informally, to me are heroes, much more so than the politicians. The people that work on the streets, they don't steal from you. They have dignity. They work long hours in the rain, in the cold, in order to make your life better. There's a guy that sells popcorn outside my office. I get popcorn from him every day. It makes me so happy. This guy's a hero. Now, politicians who we're supposed to respect, not so much. They don't make my life better necessarily, and it's easy for them to make my life worse. So I think we owe a lot of applause, and we need to encourage these people, because otherwise they're either stealing or they're sleeping on the street. So we need to understand that there are a lot of entrepreneurs among the poor. So let me end on the following. If you're worried about distribution, philanthropy is one way that can be solved. And if you think it's so bad that some people don't have money, give it yourself. Don't demand me or someone else. You get involved. It's up to you. It's your decision. So what's the best way? Whoops. I lost my, there it goes. All right. So the young people that want to do well and want to do good, become an entrepreneur. That's idealism that we need to understand. When Barack Obama became president, he said, I want to restore respectability to public service. For me, that's a bad idea. Respectability is what you get when you produce something and deliver it to someone who values it and gives up to you voluntarily a reward. Okay, thank you very much. And good luck. Thank you.